Welcome to Redacted tonight. I'm Lee Camp. So, happy holidays. I hope you're stuffing your face with some sort of refined sugars right now. If you aren't, that's very un-American of you. Get on it, all right? Find something shaped like an elf and shove it in your face hole. Anyway, because it is, I meant shaped like an elf cookie, not an actual elf. That'd be bizarre. Anyway, because it's the holidays, I don't have a live audience. You might have noticed, no live audience episode for Redacted tonight, but I still have something pretty awesome for you. Throughout this past year, we have covered the most censored, most important, most redacted stories about our U.S. military, and it's some gnarly shit. The most important story probably being the $21 trillion of unaccounted for spending at the Pentagon over the past 20 years. 21 trillion. It's an unimaginable amount of money. No matter how many times I say it, it makes me angry every time anew. It would take, this is a real fact, it would take 5 or 6 days of the stated Pentagon budget to give the world clean water for a year. 5 or 6 days. Dirty water kills millions around the world every year. We could save millions of lives every year. And we'd be beloved. There'd be no terrorism. Hugs and kisses everywhere we go. People would be like, oh, it's the water people. Give them some chocolates. Really, it's unimaginable. Anyway, you get the point. Our military-industrial complex is completely out of control. And what follows are the best segments from Redacted Tonight's many episodes this year relating to our U.S. military. Enjoy. You might recall that on a previous show, I covered the $21 trillion that has gone unaccounted for at the Pentagon. That's right, trillion with a T. And I feel like every time this topic is even mentioned, it should come with like a little suffix. Just a little suffix right there. And that suffix should be, $21 trillion! God damn it, with a pineapple up your what the hell? That's right there, right there. Anyway, the $21 trillion includes $6.5 trillion unaccounted for in 2015 alone. And when I covered this a few months ago, really the only two journalists looking into it were David DeGraw, writing for his own website, and a single Forbes article, which was co-written by the economist who discovered the unaccounted adjustments, Mark Skidmore. And by discovered, I don't mean Skidmore like found a dusty shoebox in Donald Rumsfeld's old desk underneath the, the baby skeletons, underneath the baby skeletons. No. I mean, he took a minute to look at the Defense Department's own Inspector General's report. So really, he just bothered to look at the thing that was designed for the public to look at. That's what he did. Anyway, after the Redacted Tonight episode came out, it got hundreds of thousands of views. My Truth Dig article on the same topic also went viral, and so did that Forbes article. Yet despite all of that, still not a word from Congress, not a word from the hacks at your mainstream media outlets. But then, just a few weeks ago, something significant was said by the Deputy Secretary of Defense, Patrick Shanahan. It happened in a quiet news dump on a press conference that actually began like this. Deputy Secretary of Defense. So you guys know why I came down here today? Reporter, to see if we ate the donuts? Just because we're murdering people all around the world doesn't mean we can't have fun, right, folks? Whackity schmackity doo. During that silly, wacky press conference, the Deputy Secretary of Defense casually mentioned halfway through that the Pentagon had failed its first ever audit. The first time the Pentagon had ever been audited, even though it was legally required to do so since the early 90s. And after Shanahan dropped that bombshell, here's what followed. Reporter, what part did the Pentagon fail in the audit? Shanahan, how about I give you like the technical version of that? There are a considerable number of areas where we kind of had a pass. And then there's some other ones where they went through and they said, we went into your inventory system and we didn't find these things, and therefore there's a finding, so you don't have a clean assessment. So, and in a lot of these audits, it's the type of finding that matters. If they want to learn what real reporting looks like, they can check out the investigative expose from The Nation magazine that came out a couple of days ago. The Nation said, for decades, the DOD's leaders and accountants have been perpetrating a gigantic unconstitutional accounting fraud, deliberately cooking the books to mislead the Congress and drive the DOD's budgets ever higher. DOD has literally been making up numbers in its annual financial reports to Congress. So here's how this fraud works. Every year, the Pentagon tells Congress how much money they need. They submit the financial reports from the year before, filled to the brim with heaping, steaming bullshit. All right? Trillions of gallons of bullshit called adjustments. Those adjustments cover up the fact that they didn't necessarily spend all the money the year before. However, instead of returning such unspent funds to the U.S. Treasury, as law requires, the Pentagon sometimes launders and shifts such monies to other parts of the DOD's budget. And this is no mistake. This is fraud. The Pentagon's accounting fraud diverts many billions of dollars that could be devoted to other national needs. Indeed, the Pentagon's accounting fraud amounts to theft on a grand scale. Theft not only from America's taxpayers, but also from the nation's well-being and its future. So right after the Nation came out with this past week, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted about it, basically saying that these unaccounted trillions at the Pentagon could help pay for Medicare for all. This story is starting to gain traction. People can see the truth. And right now, it is the corporate media tools who are trying to make sure you think, it's just some accounting errors. Pay no mind to the fact that it amounts to the largest theft ever perpetrated against the American people. This week, Trump called for keeping troops in Iraq to watch Iran. Watch Iran? Does Trump not realize we monitor other nations with satellites and spyware? Does he think we do our watching of other countries from like windows or something? Like a dude at a base in Iraq with binoculars? Sarge, I think they're up to something! And if he wants them nearby for response time, Trump doesn't seem to understand you don't have to leave troops in Iraq because we can come back if we want to. We have very fast planes. We have cargo planes. We can come back very quickly.
We'll come back if we have to. We have very fast airplanes. We have very good cargo planes. We can come back very quickly.
And that's the same interview this week when he said we have to keep troops in Iraq. Okay, fine. Look, leaving troops in Iraq is idiotic because being in Iraq was a mistake. It was a big mistake to go. One of the biggest mistakes. Going into the Middle East, one of the greatest mistakes that our country has ever made. One of the greatest mistakes we've ever made. Why can't he get that?
Being in Iraq was a mistake. Okay, being in Iraq, it was a big mistake to go. One of the greatest mistakes going into the Middle East that our country has ever made. One of the greatest mistakes that we've ever made.
I can't tell if I'm winning or losing this debate. Let me try another angle here. Leaving troops in Iraq is wrong simply because of the money. Americans are drowning in debt, yet we're spending more money on military than anybody's ever spent in history, by a lot. We spent over the last 5 years close to $50 billion a year in Afghanistan alone. That's more than most countries spend for everything, including education, medical, everything else. Would someone dare tell that to Donald Trump?
We're spending more money than anybody's ever spent in history by a lot. We spent, over the last 5 years, close to $50 billion a year in Afghanistan. That's more than most countries spend for everything, including education, medical, and everything else.
I give up. This is like debating a potted plant that spent 20 years in the NFL. Turns out U.S. troops are remaining in Syria after Trump had said he's pulling them out. But don't worry, it's just to guard the oil fields. Kind of like how Bernie Madoff was just guarding all that money. Kind of like how Nestle guards all the fresh water in the world just before all over it. We're just guarding the oil. We're not taking control of the oil.
We've taken control of the oil in the Middle East, the oil that we're talking about, the oil that everybody was worried about. The U.S. has control of that.
Like I said, we're taking control of the oil. It's just a temporary control guardian thing, all right? We're not claiming the oil. We're not fighting to keep the oil.
Now, we may have to fight for the oil. That's okay. Maybe somebody else wants the oil, in which case they have a hell of a fight. But there's massive amounts of oil. Again, somebody else may claim it, but either we'll negotiate a deal with whoever's claiming it if we think it's fair, or we will militarily stop them very quickly. We have tremendous power in that part.
Like I said, we're claiming the oil. But we're just claiming it to guard it, all right? We're not taking it. We don't even like oil, all right? Not even that into oil. Not in Syria, not in Venezuela either. The coup we're trying to create down in Venezuela has nothing to do with oil, like John Bolton said.
It'll make a big difference to the United States economically if we could have American oil companies really invest in and produce the oil capabilities in Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of Venezuela. It'd be good for the people of the United States. We both have a lot at stake here, making this come out the right way.
Okay, so we kinda want Venezuela's oil. But as he said, us stealing their oil would be great for the Venezuelan people too. It's not just for us. We steal it as a favor to them. But still, I think that's the exception that proves the rule. In general, we are not into oil. We hate oil. People say to me, do you want fries? I say, yes, but don't cook them in oil, all right? Just breathe hot air on them. We weren't even interested in Iraq's oil when we went in there.
We should have taken the oil. By going to Iraq and saying, you know what, you have $15 trillion worth of oil. We've spent $1.5 trillion on your war. Guess what, folks? You're going to be paying us back.
Yeah! Listen up, mother. We invaded your country, we executed or imprisoned many of your people, destroyed your society, put in our puppet government that isn't doing shit for you, and not even so much as a thank you. We have to go to a short break, but quick note, my new book, Bullet Points and Punchlines, is available for pre-order at leecampbook.com. It's many columns from my Truth Dig articles. Also, it's got a lot of extra in there, and it's got an intro by Jimmy Dore, forward by Chris Hedges. And in the U.S., there's a limited number of signed copies available. Check it out. All right, I'll be right back with a lot more. Welcome back. I am still Lee Camp. And this is the best of Redacted Tonight 2019, the military-industrial complex episode. Let's get back to it. Last weekend, the Trump administration announced the death of the head of ISIS, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Sure, you've heard that Baghdadi has been killed several times before, but you know what they say, the seventh time's the charm. Here to explain is the preeminent scholar of hide and go seek, Naomi Caravani. Naomi. So tell us what happened to Abu...
No. Shh. Don't say his name a third time, Lee.
What is he, like Beetlejuice?
Kind of. I mean, the U.S. made this monster famous by constantly talking about him. He has one speech online. One. I can't believe that this guy has way less content online than I do, yet he was treated like a celebrity. People stole his underwear like he's Rihanna or something. What do I need to do to get people to care about my panties? It's like, why even bother wearing underwear if people aren't taking it and making creepy art out of it?
I don't want to get into the psychology of that, but that underwear was for DNA to confirm it was him.
Baghdadi wasn't even the founder of ISIS. That was Zarqawi, who also was a nobody until the U.S. military led a $24 million propaganda campaign against him, including radio broadcasts and distribution of thousands of leaflets with Zarqawi's face on them in Iraq. Leaflets? What is that, like a paper Instagram post? We were doing Zarqawi's promotion for him like we were advertising for an EDM DJ night at a club. That's how we helped create what some call Al-Qaeda's offshoot in Iraq, ISIS. There's no such thing as bad press for a guy who wants to be a bad guy. Can we take him down already? I mean, we've seen enough of the goddamn guy.
Yeah.
I just wish I could get a deal like he did. Look, I could be a bad guy on scary terrorist propaganda. It's easy. Just didn't shave.
I thought you nailed it. So let's talk about the raid against al-Baghdadi.
Well, it was a Hollywood story. There was a hero, a dog. Baghdadi was chased down by a canine, and though the name of the dog is classified, it's rumored to be Air Bud. Other than the dog, the media is focused on Trump's errors in reporting the raid on Baghdadi as if they got the truth from Obama about the bin Laden raid. Obama just had a shorter story. He spoke for 9 minutes while Trump spoke for 45. So like listening to any long story, we said, whoa, that's crazy, man. Stopped listening and checked our phones. So we later discovered, contrary to the official narrative, bin Laden was unarmed, had been watched over by Pakistan for years, and the CIA didn't help us find bin Laden by torturing suspects. The location was revealed by a walk-in, a retired Pakistani intelligence officer who was after the $25 million reward that the U.S. had promised anyone who helped locate bin Laden. It's the same in this case. It wasn't our intel. Again, someone who wanted a $25 million reward literally sold out Baghdadi and his underwear. It's almost like people respond better to $25 million than electric shocks to their Humans are mysterious creatures, aren't they?
So is the region safer now that Baghdadi is dead?
No way. Much like bin Laden, Baghdadi was past his prime when he was killed. And we never wanted the region to be safer. He was found hiding in Turkish territory where the US-backed rebels are being protected.
So we were indirectly protecting ISIS.
Yes, indeed, we were. Now, there are several questions which remain about the raid, such as, who cares? Baghdadi didn't have any influence when he died, no operational control. He didn't even have a podcast.
And we care about everyone! Since our country's military-industrial complex has engaged us in endless war, it only makes sense our government would lock its troops into endless personal debt as well. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, currently led by interim director and sneaky dweeb Mick Mulvaney, plans to roll back protections of the Military Lending Act, a law that protects active duty military from predatory lenders and fraud. For more on this, we go to our senior loan shark, Natalie McGill. Natalie. Are you worried about this?
No, Lee, I'm not too worried about a group that has an entire law written just for them while there are zero for the rest of us who made financial decisions. All right, where is the law to stop college freshman Natalie from signing up for a credit card for a free t-shirt, $50, and some nachos? All right, where's the law to point out the fine print where it said it was actually just $50 worth of nachos? All right, plus the Bureau is only scaling back on supervising lenders and just taking action against lenders if it receives a complaint.
So they'll wait until something bad happens before they do something. That sounds like a terrible plan.
No, that sounds like every superhero I've seen in a movie ever. Did you hear about the new Superman movie where he just squats outside of Lex Luthor's house waiting for him to f*** up?
No.
Because it doesn't exist.
Okay.
Plus, after 12 years of this law, these bad actors have learned their lesson, especially since the agency delivered more than $130 million in relief to service members and handled over 71,000 complaints.
I got news for you. Bad people don't always learn their lesson. The law was necessary because even Department of Defense research shows military members are 4 times as likely to be preyed upon with high-interest loans. The Pentagon can't be thrilled about this either. Right?
I'm sure they couldn't have been if they had been notified about the changes to the act to begin with. But even if the Bureau sent the Pentagon a letter, they would have just misplaced it. Like, how is the Pentagon going to find a piece of paper when they can't even find $21 trillion of their own spending?
That's over 20 years. Who doesn't misplace a trillion?
I doubt Thomas Jefferson would have sent Lewis and Clark to explore the western U.S. if Clark couldn't find his own ass. Plus, the Pentagon hasn't decreed the changes, so they were better off not knowing.
But the military isn't better off, and this proves they're preyed upon every step. They're lied into endless war by recruiters during high school. They're promised health care they don't get. They're an afterthought when they become homeless vets. And they're victims of corporate greed since Mulvaney got tens of thousands of dollars from the payday lending industry as a member of Congress.
Okay. Given that a third of the military uses stuff like payday loans, I can see why Mulvaney would capitalize, but bad people can learn lessons. Like, if that wasn't true, then I'd still be making ads like this to get by. Oh, say, can you see this cold hard cash? Are you in the military? Do you have a record number of kills, but you can't pay the bills? Then get your cash advance at Coin Force One. Visit us at our new location in this abandoned KFC Taco Bell combo.
Yeah, Natalie McGill, everybody! Last week, the U.S. recognized the paramilitary coup that seized power in Bolivia as if they were the legitimate government. And since then, the death toll of the poor and indigenous has been climbing. Then we learned several coup plotters were trained at the notorious U.S. military school, the School of the Americas. Here to explain is part-time death squad tutor Naomi Caravani. Naomi.
Hi, Lee. Are you struggling with kidnapping? Is your extraordinary rendition just plain ordinary? Then we can help you. At the School of the Americas, we teach creatively. We let every student discover their own individualized technique of gagging government dissidents. Duct tape, socks, your very own foot, which may have a sock.
Can we get the ad-free version of this story? What does this school have to do with the coup in Bolivia?
Fine, I'll just end with a promo code.
All right.
So, Williams Kaliman, the commander of Bolivia's forces, attended the School of the Americas in Fort Benning, Georgia in 2003. He was the one who suggested that President Evo Morales step down.
Suggested?
Yeah, not with a gun to his head, with an army to his head. Now, critics call his alma mater, the School of the Americas, a coup academy, a school for assassins, or the school for dictators. However, like all great American institutions of higher learning, the school has some famous alumni, some of which are war criminals, and some of which may be war criminals pending the outcome of an upcoming trial.
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
Well, the school's curriculum dates back to 1962. It's intended to prepare for conflicts like the Cuban Revolution, so counterinsurgency, internal security, you know what I mean. I gotta say, our record was unimpeachable until people started saying that graduates carried out massacres in El Salvador. Yeah, public protests and public pressure led to the closure of the school years later, but the military opened up another school in the same location with the exact same curriculum, called the Western Hemisphere Institute for Security Cooperation, or WINSEC. You know, but I think they could have just changed the name to definitely not the School of the Americas that trained a Salvadorian death squad academy.
Yeah, it really rolls off the tongue. I like it.
Yeah.
So what do they teach at Western?
WINSEC. Well, according to the training manuals released in 1996, torture, extortion, blackmail, and the targeting of civilian populations. So, regular school.
Right.
That's what everyone learns in philosophy class, ways to torture people with thought experiments about a chair. If the chair exists in your mind, it's as an ideal form of a chair. But let's say you were tied to that chair.
All right. I missed
You'll
that
never
lesson.
forget
it. Get the point.
Recently, they added human rights courses. So in the morning, it's Widowmaking 101, Narcissism 202, Coup Creation in C++, and in the afternoon, it's PR and burning evidence. The days are long. Sometimes it kind of gets annoying when the kids ask, "Can we have the school shooting outside today?"
All right. Well, I guess on the bright side, at least these highly trained death squads go away and don't stay in America. At least other countries get them and not us.
Actually, ICE revealed that their agents will receive combat training in civilian targeted warfare at the School of the Americas, or
Wait,
WINSAC.
what?
Yeah.
What?
Naomi Caravani, everyone!
That's the show, but I have live shows coming up in Philadelphia, Austin, Dallas, Washington, D.C., and more. Go to redactedtour.com to get tickets. Also, as you know, we're very suppressed on YouTube. They aren't showing our videos to people. The best way to hear about our videos is to go to youtube.com/redacted tonight. You have to click subscribe. You also got to click the bell icon next to the word subscribe. That's very important. All right, until next time, good night and keep fighting.